Welcome to That's Good Broncos. I'm Brandon Perna, Master Predictor. This is the Broncos versus Colts prediction episode. The Broncos are 7-0. I'm 7-0. Will I make it to 8-0? Will the Broncos make it to 8-0? Those are questions. Maybe I'll have answers, but I'm going to evaluate all of the players, all the position groups, add them up, give you a total, and then tell you who will win this game. Some people think it'll be close. Other people don't. Who am I? Who are you? That's Good Broncos. Broncos and Colts will face off at 2:25 regular clock time at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy, Indiana. But with Peyton's return to the stadium he built, there will definitely be some mixed emotions from the crowd, especially with the way Andrew Luck has been playing lately. However, I do give the Colts a half point for home field advantage. Gary Kubiak versus Chuck Pagano. Chuck Pagano is officially on the hot seat in Indianapolis, and that's why his ass feels like it's suffering from a nasty case of burning hemorrhoids. That's bound to happen when your GM Ryan Grigson and owner Jim Irsay are what head doctors would classify as being batshit crazy. I mean, they both look like they were cut from the exact same frat boy try to be cool guy cloth. I feel bad for Chuck because I think he's a pretty good head coach, but I'm going to give Gary Kubiak a modest half-point advantage here, even though it should be a full point after the Colts fired their offensive coordinator Pep Hamilton this week. The Browns' former head coach Rob Chudzinski will fill in as the offensive coordinator. It's never a good thing if you're replacing a Pep with the Chud. Peyton Manning versus Andrew Luck. It's been a strange year for quarterbacks. Carson Palmer is ranked number 1 right now in Pro Football Focus, and at the bottom are falling stars Matthew Stafford, Joe Flacco, and even Andrew Luck. Luck currently boasts a negative 16.6 rating, which is just 0.2 points higher than Matthew Stafford, who is dead last. Two gunslingers who've chased their offensive coordinators out of town by firing interceptions. But wait, there's more. Andrew Luck is the only quarterback in the NFL with more interceptions than Peyton Manning. He's also missed 2 games this season, dealing with a shoulder injury or rib injury or both. The Colts have sort of lied about whatever's going on with him. Here's the difference for me. Peyton Manning is coming off his best game of the season. The offensive line showed great improvement against the Packers, and the Broncos ran the ball effectively. Andrew Luck finished the game against the Panthers on fire until he threw a pick in overtime. The Broncos have stability right now in the coaching staff, on the offensive line, and within their offensive scheme. The Colts do not, and I can confidently give Peyton Manning a half-point advantage. Here you go, Peyton! Running backs versus running backs. The Colts will be rotating Frank Gore and Ahmad Bradshaw in the backfield. Despite their age, I really like these two guys. They're smart running backs, and they do different things well. Bradshaw is a great pass-blocking dude. He also is an effective pass catcher, but is being underutilized in that area right now. Gore is still one of the best power backs who reads the field just as good as anybody who can read. C.J. Anderson posted his first 100-yard game this season, and Ronnie Hillman found the end zone twice against the Packers. The big difference here is that I think C.J. Anderson is finally getting healthy. He looked explosive, found the holes in the line, and broke tackles. C.J. Bash Manderson will find more success against the Colts' run defense that isn't very good. Denver's run defense seems to get better each week, so I'm going to give the Broncos a half-point advantage here. Colts receivers versus Denver's secondary. The Broncos' defensive backs are coming off one of the best games I've ever seen any secondary play. They made Aaron Rodgers look more like Ryan Mallett, both as a quarterback and physically. Oh boy. Randall Cobb was the leading receiver with 27 yards. The Colts have T.Y. Hilton, Andre Johnson, Dante Moncrief, and Griff Whalen. But their most dangerous receiving target, T.Y. Hilton, has a foot sprain. And even if he plays, he won't be 100%. Physically, Andre Johnson is a mismatch for any defensive back, but his only standout performance came against his former team, the Houston Texans. The Count of Dante Moncriefco is a talented young receiver, but he's not going to embarrass anyone in the Denver secondary, especially with Darian Stewart playing so well in pass coverage from the safety position. I'm looking for the Broncos secondary to put a stamp on what they did last week against the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm giving the Broncos secondary a full point advantage, in part because of Luck's tendency to throw ill-advised passes. Tight ends versus tight ends. Virgil Green and Owen Daniels finally got involved in the Broncos passing game, and it made a huge impact. Not only that, the Broncos acquired Vernon Davis from the San Francisco 49ers to add a third weapon to that positional group. I have no idea how much we'll see from Davis on Sunday, but I'd guess it won't be significant. The Colts have two talented tight ends in Coby Fleener and Dwayne Allen. The reason I like this combo for Indianapolis is you never know which tight end will have a big game. They seem to do a great job at getting these two involved in the passing game at different times. The interesting thing right now is that Coby Fleener is blocking better than anyone from either team at this position. That hair of his says, "I'll see you at the coffee shop for a latte so we can discuss saving the environment," but his body is built to bulldoze defensive trees. I need to see another week of production from Virgil Green and Owen Daniels, and possibly Vernon Davis, before I completely buy into them as threats. I'm going to award in-betweener Fleener and Dwayne Allen a half point based on their track record, and because I'm kind of starting to feel sorry for the Colts and the way their season's going. Colts defensive line versus Broncos offensive line. Big boys! The Colts have a 3-4 defensive line, and their big dude men boys include Kendall Langford, David Perry, and Henry Anderson, with Zach Kerr, T.Y. McGill, and Billy Wynn in rotation. If you change David and Billy's name to Steve, the Colts would have a very popular 80s band instead of a defensive line. Think about it. They're also the only team in NFL history with two men on the roster with the first name T.Y. Defensive end, Henry Anderson, is the guy to watch out for in this group. Hell, even aging veteran Kendall Langford on the other end has been good at getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks this season. The Colts do not have a dominant nose tackle. David Perry is ranked near the bottom of the league at the position. And the Broncos' strength on the offensive line is in the middle with Evan Mathis, who is officially a top 10 guard right now, and an improving Matt Paradis and a healing Luis Vasquez. Again, I want another unyielding performance from this offensive line before I start giving them big advantages. So right now, this position battle is a wash. Prove it to me, O-line. Prove it to me. Broncos defensive line versus Colts offensive line. Derek Wolfe was just named Defensive Player of the Week in the AFC, and the Broncos' run defense seems to get better every week. Like Manning, this season, some of Luck's struggles are due to his offensive line's inability to consistently pass protect and run block. The Colts starting center, Khaled Holmes, missed the last game with a neck injury. A loss like that is compounded when the man playing right next to him is struggling. Hugh Thornton at right guard has yet to find his stride at the position. The left side of the line is actually very good, with Anthony Costanzo coming off a near-perfect game against the Panthers and Jack Mewhort at left guard. Individually, the Colts line is talented, but they've been shuffled around nearly as much as the Broncos line. This week, the Colts will be facing a red-hot Derek Wolfe at left end, which means he will face the weak side of the Colts line and our continually strong rotation of Smith, Walker, and Jackson. But the key matchup may be between Sylvester Williams and whoever ends up playing center. Denver gets a half-point advantage on the D-line. Linebackers versus linebackers. There are no surprises here on the Broncos end. Trevathan, Marshall, Ware, Miller are all still the best in the NFL as a group. That's exactly why Cleveland wanted Shaq Barrett to be part of the Joe Thomas trade that never happened. The good news for Denver is that Lorente McCray, who's filling in for Shane Ray, had a great game against the Packers. This is very important because Barrett now has a toe injury. Von Miller ranks 4th, Demarcus Ware ranks 8th, and Shaquille Barrett ranks 11th on Pro Football Focus. Brandon Marshall holds the number 2 spot behind Luke Kuechly, and Trevathan has moved up to number 5. The Colts inside linebacker Jarrell Freeman ranks 4th, just ahead of Trevathan, and outside linebacker Trent Cole is playing really well. Robert Mathis, despite his low rating, should never be overlooked. Jarrell Freeman is playing just as good, if not better, than Clay Matthews right now, so watch out for how the Broncos handle him. Until I see one of the Broncos linebackers have a bad game, I'm going to continue to give them the advantage. With Barrett's injury, I'm only giving the Broncos a half-point advantage here. Broncos receivers versus Colts secondary. Last week, I asked the Broncos receivers to step up, and Demarcus Thomas, well, he heard me loud and clear. He finished the game with 8 catches for 168 yards, averaging 21 yards a catch. You can't ask for more than that. Well, except maybe a touchdown. I know the Packers secondary was hurt, and I will factor that in. The Colts secondary is actually decent. Vontae Davis, Vernon's little brother, despite struggling against the Panthers in a monsoon, is a great corner who finished the 2014 season as the second best corner in the NFL, just behind Chris Harris. Former Broncos safety Mike Adams has also played well for the Colts the last couple of years, but is having an up and down season right now. What Adams does well, though, is make interceptions, and he has 4 on the year, which accounts for about half of the Colts' takeaways. If I'm the Broncos, I'm attacking corner Greg Toller and safety Dwight Lowry. Not to be confused with Mike Lowry. Mike Lowry from Bad Boys. Mike Lowry. Lowry is arguably better in coverage than Adams, but his 2 picks both came against the Titans. Again, I'm challenging the Broncos receivers in a prove-it-to-me game, and we'll give them a tiny 0.25 advantage here against a Colts secondary that is better than it looks on paper. Special teams versus special teams. No suspense here, I'm giving the Colts a half-point advantage. They have the best punter in the NFL in Pat McAfee, who also handles their kickoff duties. They also have the best kicker that's probably ever played the game in Adam Vinatieri. McManus is outperforming him in field goal percentage this year, but I have to factor in those tight-fitting clutch jeans Vinatieri has. And the final score for the Indianapolis 500, which is what the Colts will almost be if they win, is 1.5 Colts to 3.75 for the Broncos. And I was cautious handing out points for the orange and blue. The Broncos are flat out a better team right now, and that doesn't mean the Colts can't win this game. It's the NFL, and they have talented players. Anything can happen. But there are a lot of problems in Indianapolis right now, and a big one is that Andrew Luck probably has fractured ribs. Don't fire your offensive coordinator when your quarterback has a significant injury. If you don't think Luck's injury is an issue, then why did the Colts win 2 games when Matt Hasselbeck was their QB? Luck is 1-5 this season. I'm sure Peyton Manning is looking at his former franchise and thinking, I got out of there just in time. The 3 wins the Colts have came against the Titans, Jaguars, and Texans, arguably 3 of the worst 5 teams in the NFL right now. The Broncos just played their most complete game of the season, and if they are true Super Bowl contenders, they will handle their business on Sunday with their second decisive win of the season. Broncos get this one 34-17. This is probably Peyton Manning's last chance to play in Indy, and he's not leaving that stadium with a loss. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Broncos prediction episode. Make sure you subscribe here to my channel, That's Good Sports. Give me a follow on Twitter at Brandon Perna. Talk to me during the game because I'm usually tweeting about how awesome the Broncos are doing. Mike Lowry. See you later.